This take and make kit is a book page pumpkin. So it is a pumpkin made out of an old book. It looks really cute, great for the holiday season as we are getting into fall. So let's get started. So it's really just a book, a leaf or two, a wire to create that little wired look, that little wired stem look, and a cork to put as the stem. So the first thing you're going to want to do is pull off the covers to the book. And we gave small paperback books, so it should be pretty easy just to rip off. Here's the cover. And you will need to use one side of the cover. This looks like it has less stuff on it, so I'm going to cut this. You want to make the shape for your pumpkin. And you're going to use that as like a traceable item. So if you want to use most of the book, you're going to have a bigger pumpkin, but it's going to be a very round shape. And you can always erase and try again if you don't like the shape of the pumpkin, but you just want like a very round shape. And then you're going to cut it out. So I actually kind of want this to be a little bigger, so I'm just going to cut off the edges really. Just go around. Maybe I need to make it a bit smaller to get it really rounded. This looks like it's going to be a pretty large pumpkin. You want to be careful that it's not too thin at the bottom because then it's going to look more like an apple and less like a pumpkin. We do have a book page apple kit as well, so I know what it looks like. So you're just going to want to cut that half off. Maybe cut a little bit from the middle. And then you can play with the shape until you're happy with it. So it is going to sit flat like this. You also want to be careful that you don't go too much smaller than the book because then it's going to be a lot more for you to cut out, and that's going to be a lot more work and your hand might get tired. Okay, once you're happy with the shape, just get rid of all the little scraps. Now you're going to cut through the entire book, and this might take you a while. This is one of the longer crafts. So you're going to put your cover piece down, you're going to take your pencil and draw around it, and I do about 10 pages at a time with scissors. I found that scissors are much easier than, we have X-Acto knives too, but I found that I have more control with the scissors, maybe just because I'm more comfortable using them. So do whatever feels most comfortable. I pull off a couple of these. Keep that tracer around since you want to redo it because you won't want to go from the first page in because then it'll be a little off. What I do is I just rip off the top and throw those pages away. And then you can move on to the next set of pages. Put your tracing foot down, trace around it, and cut the next 10-ish pages out. If you feel like you can do more, go for it. But you want a nice rounded shape because that will make it really look like a pumpkin. Alright, so once you cut through the entire book, you're going to have this whole center piece here, and you can just rip that off. You might need an X-Acto knife at this point in order to shrink this down if you'd like. You don't have to, but if it really bothers you, you could straighten it out. So let's see if I can do that really quickly with an X-Acto knife. I just do this kind of sawing action all the way through the spine. And they should come out relatively easily. So, you've made a big mess, and now it's time for the fun part, which is to decorate and really make it look like a pumpkin. So you have the shape, you can throw the rest of the excess stuff out, put your X-Acto knives away, and you can either, I've seen both done, where you can dip the pages into the paint, but I found that it actually looks better because it gets sticky if you open it and fan it out first. If you fan it out first, hot glue it, and then start painting. So you're gonna go to the middle of your book where the spine creases in the middle. You're gonna bend it back, and you're gonna take your hot glue and put it right down the middle of the spine. You wanna close that spine together so that you can get that rounded pumpkin shape, and you're gonna press and hold while it cools down. Once it's cooled down, you can start fanning out your pumpkin. I would put some paper towel beneath it because it is going to get a little messy once you start painting, which is the next step. So clear the area a little bit, put some paper towels underneath here. Now for the fanning bit, you'd be surprised, but it doesn't just fan open by itself. You will have to do a little adjusting, some squeezing in opposing directions, and really get those pages to kind of open up and fan out on their own. That they do need help though. And you can always keep adjusting as you see fit. Sometimes you will need to glue together some of the sides, and that will help too. And you just want to keep opening it until you're satisfied for the time being. And then you want to get your paint. So get your orange acrylic paint. This is going to be a pretty big pumpkin size. You're going to squeeze that into your palette. You're probably going to need a lot, so don't be afraid of using too much on there. And then you're going to get started. So dunk your paintbrush. You kind of want a thick paintbrush, and just start painting away at the edges with your orange paint. Kind of try to get inside of the pages, which is really nice. Sometimes you might want to stand up for this so you can see what paint is going in, what paint is missing the mark here. Doesn't matter how messy it is, that's kind of the fun part. Now you can flip it upside down. It should stand on its own upside down, and you can get the bottom too if you really want to. If you really want to get that pumpkin looking like a pumpkin all the way around. Bottom is pretty easy to get because it's all straight edges. Now careful that you don't put too much because the pages will stick together and you will need to separate them by hand later, and they're going to do that inevitably, but you can make it easy on yourself if you try to keep them kind of separate. I know that's easier said than done. Another nice thing about having some paper towels or something underneath is that you can move it by the paper towel instead of using your hands to move the pumpkin itself. Alright, so the final things we need to do are apply the top pieces. So, you're going to apply your cork first. Pick a bottom side, cover that with hot glue, stick it in the middle, hold it. You might need a little bit more help around the edges. Which is fine, just to get it to stay put. So hold it for a few seconds. Then you're going to do some, if you have that pencil you still used for the tracing, you are going to wrap your wire around the pencil to give it that rounded stem look. So you're just gonna pull it taut, round and around and around, nicely, just like that. Pull it off. Careful, it's kind of sharp. Now you can pull it off the pencil. You could stretch it a little bit, pick which side you want the top and which side you want the bottom. And you're gonna take your leaf and pick a side, but against the pencil you can roll it a little bit. It's cardstock, so it should withstand the little bit of rolling so that it looks like the leaf is kind of bending outward, and it gives it a more realistic look, a nicer touch, so it doesn't just look so much like paper. All right. Okay, so pick your front, whatever side looks better to you, maybe where you have a bit more paint. Pick a side and stick your leaf right in there. And just pour a bit there, stick it down, pour a bit more, and let it cool down. And then you're gonna add your final piece, which is the little twig part. And that is gonna go it can either go by your leaf or on the other side. If you feel like you have more room on the other side, maybe that's a better spot to put it. You're just gonna put it out here like this. Now let it cool down for a bit. You can pull off any strings once they've gotten thoroughly stuck to the book. And that is it. That is how you make a book page pumpkin. Again, let this dry. You can touch it up as you need to. You can fan it out as you want to. See, I have some parts that are starting to slide around here. Keep hot gluing. Keep hot gluing whatever you need. And that's it. That's your cute book page pumpkin all done. Have a happy fall season, everyone.